Alexandria. In 264 BC, the Romans removed the Carthaginians from Sicily, prompting retaliation from Hannibal, who marched his troops across the Alps. Roman armies eventually destroyed Carthage, forming the new province of Roman North Africa. Further campaigns brought Macedonia, Greece, and Asia Minor under their control. In 63 BC, the year Caesar was elected, the Romans marched into Palestine and seized Jerusalem. After visiting Egypt, where he had an affair with Cleopatra, Caesar campaigned in Asia Minor and North Africa. On his return to Rome in 44 BC, he was murdered, with Octavian and Antony defeating the conspirators. Antony, though, deserted his wife Octavia to join Cleopatra, and Octavian declared war on Egypt and was victorious, following which Antony and Cleopatra committed suicide. Though Rome dominated politically, it was Alexandria in Egypt, with its great public buildings, a distinguished university, and a library of more than 700,000 scrolls, that was the greatest city of the Hellenistic age. The famous Library of Alexandria was part of the Mouseion, or museum, founded in the 3rd century BC by Ptolemy I, as a community of learned men organized as a religious cult and headed by a priest of the Muses. The Greek geographer and historian, Strabo, mentioned that it was a large complex of buildings and gardens with richly decorated lecture and banquet halls linked by porticos, or colonnaded walks. The magnificent library not only contained the works of the Greeks and Egyptians, but included Jewish, Babylonian, Zoroastrian, and many other writings, as well as manuscripts from as far away as India. Buddhist monks were part of a special envoy sent by the Emperor Ashoka to Alexandria, and Hermippus was active in Alexandria about 200 BC, and it is assumed that the 2 million lines of Zoroaster, on which he commented, were held there. The greatest of the sciences studied at Alexandria was astronomy, then synonymous with astrology. While begun in Babylon, in coming centuries, it was at Alexandria that the pseudoscience of astrology was furthered. The pervasiveness of study of astrology at Alexandria was such that it came to be regarded mistakenly as having originated there, leading to fantastic claims as to the antiquity of the ancient wisdom of the Egyptians. As early as Aristotle, there is a reference to Egyptian astronomy as equal to that of Babylon, or rather, according to Diodorus of Sicily, it was from the Egyptians that the Babylonians had acquired this knowledge. 11. Alexandrian mysticism was essentially theurgic. An initiate sought divine union by either ascending to the realm of the transcendent God, or in calling the God down, that he might appear to him in an epiphany. Ultimately, the mystic is confronted with a vision of the true God, who reveals to him the secrets by which he may manipulate the world, in other words, magic. Of particular importance in understanding these practices, are the famous magical papyri, in which we see the use of the terms magic, magical, and the practitioners calling themselves magicians. The papyri were first discovered in Egypt, and brought to Europe by Johann de Anastasi, the Swedish vice-consul in Cairo from 1828 to 1859. This collection contained recipes and formulas for all types of magic, including love magic, exorcism and curses. Although their date is relatively late, dating from the 3rd and 4th centuries AD, they reflect much earlier ideas. Arthur Darby Nock thought that, though they may have picked up Persian features, the magical papyri were Greco-Egyptian in character. 12. Erwin Goodenough though saw the magical papyri as connected to heretical Judaism, combined with a number of other influences typical of late Hellenistic syncretism, pointing out that one god alone is worshipped, while the other gods are reduced to the level of angels or demons. 13. Franz Cumont noted, a great number of Jewish colonies were scattered everywhere on the Mediterranean, and these were long animated with such an ardent spirit of proselytism that they were bound to impose some of their conceptions on the pagans that surrounded them. The magical texts, which are almost the only original literary documents of paganism we possess, clearly reveal this mixture of Israelitic theology with that of other peoples. In them we frequently find names like Iao, Yahweh, Sabaoth, or the names of angels side by side with those of Egyptian or Greek divinities. 14. In the magical papyri, the gods of the underworld are employed as the most important means of fulfilling various magical operations, towards the acquisition of love, wealth, health, fame, knowledge of the future, and control over others. Hecate, identical with Persephone, Selene, Artemis, and the ancient Babylonian goddess Ereshkigal, is one of the gods most often invoked in the papyri. Through the influence of Osiris and Isis, gods like Hermes, Aphrodite, and even the Jewish god Iao, or Jehovah, become gods of the underworld. The Greek god most often invoked is the sun god Apollo Helios. Mithras is mentioned a few times, in each case with Helios or with Zeus Helios Serapis. Other astral deities such as Selene, the moon, the constellation of the Bear, are featured, as well as abstract deities who personify nature, time, destiny, and the all, or Eon. Though, the god most often invoked is Iao. 15 Also invoked are the Jewish patriarchs, as well as such figures as Samodicius, Democritus, and Osthanes. Lucian, the Roman satirist of the 2nd century AD, offers an account that helps to shed some light on the nature of the eclecticism of the magical papyri. He recounts the story of Menippus, who accomplishes a descent to the underworld through the aid of a magi from Babylon, who, after following a strict vegetarian diet for several days, and offering an animal sacrifice, shouted as loudly as he could, invoking the spirits, one and all, at the top of his lungs, also the tormentors, the Furies, Hecate, Queen of the Night, and Eri Persephonia. With these names he intermingled a number of foreign-sounding, meaningless words of many syllables. 16. Ammianus Marcellinus, Roman historian of the 4th century AD, described the circulation of occult ideas at Alexandria. Here, first, far earlier than in any other country, men arrived at the various cradles, if I may say so, of different religions. Here they still carefully preserve the elements of sacred rites as handed down in their secret volumes. He adds, yet even now there is much learning in the same city, for teachers of various sects flourish, and many kinds of secret knowledge are explained by geometrical science. Nor is music dead among them, nor harmony. And by a few, observations of the motion of the world and of the stars are still cultivated, while of learned arithmetic eons the number is considerable, and besides them there are many skilled in divination. 17 Finally, though the great library survived a fire set in Alexandria in 47 BC by the Roman Emperor Caesar, whose army supported Cleopatra in a civil war against her brother, it was destroyed in 272 AD in a civil war under the Roman Emperor Aurelian. The oldest of the surviving Sibylline oracles composed partly by Jews in Alexandria. 18 The Sibyls were women who lived in cases or shrines, and who uttered prophecies in a state of frenzy, or demonic possession. Like Heraclitus, Plato speaks of only one Sibyl, but in course of time the number increased to 9. The most famous Sibyls were the Delphic Sibyl, who lived on the side of Mount Parnassus, the Cumaean Sibyl lived near Vesuvius, and the Erythraean Sibyl of Ionia. The Persian Sibyl or Babylonian Sibyl, who was said to be prophetic of the Apollonian oracle, was believed to have foretold the exploits of Alexander the Great. 19 In the 2nd century AD, Pausanias enumerate 4 Sibyls and mentioned the Hebrew Sibyl who was brought up in Palestine named Sab, whose father was Beresus and her mother Arimanth. Some say she was a Babylonian, while others call her an Egyptian Sibyl. 20. The medieval Byzantine encyclopedia, the Suda, credits the Hebrew Sibyl as author of the Sibylline oracles. In Christian iconography, the Erythraean Sibyl is credited with prophesying the coming of the Redeemer, which prophecy was in the form of an acrostic from a Greek verse which St. Augustine reported to have been shown purportedly from the Erythraean Sibyl, spelling Jesus Christ, Son of God, Savior. 21.